I think we're recording. I'm with Rephoel today. Hi, Rephoel.
Hey Angie, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the fourth video I've recorded for the celebration of the India being experience, which is happening in February, which I'm so excited about. And I'm really grateful that you've joined me today to answer the questions, because your experience as being a speaker in Arizona, I know, is going to be slightly different to those of us who attended London without really knowing any of the background. So
Yeah,
it's going to be great to hear your take. I'm really excited.
yeah, absolutely.
So do you mind just telling us a bit of how you came to be at the Arizona event?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a great story, and it is the story that I see as the story between me and Judy. Um, Judy created the event after her marvelous experience with Steve directly, and that experience started, as far as I'm aware, um, in the summertime when Steve had the six-pack trip from Phoenix to Los Angeles, I think it was. And that trip got started with a contest that Steve made. And all of us had, there was whoever was on the trip, not me, but the way the contest was, everybody had to submit their submission to Steve. And I received a call from Steve about my submission, which I myself was very hesitant to share and to send to him because I couldn't meet the dates that he was traveling. And I kind of dared myself to ask Steve if his dates would change, then it would be a possibility for me to join that. And Steve got inspired to make the trip not only for one person, which was the original plan, but to make it available for six people. And Judy Thurston became one of those six people on the trip. And because of her experience, so I didn't end up going. I wasn't able to make it work even with the six people, but Judy was one of the six people who ended up having that interaction, that experience with Steve. And that's how I believe Steve and Judy's relationship, definitely catalyst. Maybe they knew each other beforehand, maybe not, and that's what inspired Judy to create the event. So Judy created the event, and she invited any one of the six people, um, and me. I mean, there were two other people who weren't part of the six who were also invited to speak at the event about their experience with being, and that's how I got involved, and that's how I ended up there. It was before the book was um, published at all. We knew the book was coming out, but the trip was several months before the book happened. And I believe that Judy's original plan was that the event was going to be a kind of book launch. The book did come out in November, and the event was going to be in January. But I remember the original idea was formulated around something Judy was putting together, and she wanted to end off with this book launch event for the book. And I was involved before that happened. It wasn't really about the book launch part, but it was about the being and speaking about our experience with being. And that's how I came involved, and just my little part in that, in the creation of that event. Although the actual event, I did not have anything to do with putting together. I just tagged on at the end.
Wow. It's just, it must have been just such an incredible experience and honor to be up there.
Yeah, it was very, I would say, interesting experience. I didn't know going in that I would have the insights that I walked out with, and I couldn't have known that this was an event that was, I don't know what the right words are. You have to be there. I'm not a fan that anybody has to do anything, but I wouldn't have known beforehand why that was until actually being there and experiencing being in such an environment and the impact that really has.
Yeah, I can completely get that, because Andrea said the same to me. Andrea's interviewing me, is going out tomorrow, and it was Andrea that said to me, "You're not going to be the same after," and I can't tell you why. You're just not.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things, and that's what and that's to me what being is all about, and why Steve keeps on saying that being is not really something you can talk about or describe or teach. It's something that you live. So it could also be tricky. It's not that if somebody goes to an event and says, "Oh, this event is going to change me," and throughout the event they're like, "So when's the change going to happen? Like, where's that happen?" That's not going to work. But there can be a commitment, I might call it, like, I'm going to make sure that I get the most out of this, that I'm going to be affected. So if I find myself not being at all impressed, I get to look inside. Well, what's going on with me? What am I thinking? Am I expecting something to happen? Am I expecting someone to do something? Then you're not being present. Then you're not showing up. That's you coming with your agenda. But when you show up just to be and to and open and to absorb, that's the biggest thing that I'm into. Go somewhere to receive, to expand, and not to challenge or make something happen. It's one of the things that me personally, um, watching, like, Byron Katie has like a lot of videos where she does her teaching case, which is fantastic and a great way to really get the work. Um, Sometimes she has, and this is just one example, but I'm sure everybody has this, that she'll have, like, people ask questions afterwards, and there's I don't know if it's a question answer or like try to challenge her, and then she just answers all the questions. So me personally, I don't really understand when people are in that position. They're trying to challenge what she's saying. It's like, no, she's definitely right. So the question is, if you're not letting yourself understand it because you have your own stories, things you're holding on to tighter, which is a great thing to learn for yourself. But it's not like, I've heard from many different people who have been to the London event and the Arizona event. The only thing I've seen people ever disappointed from is when they came in with completely their own expectations, even things that were not reality. Like, oh, I thought this was Steve Hardison making an event, and I heard so little of him. It's no, it was not Steve Hardison making an event. So that was a mistake on your part going in, but it's just an event of being and of growing, and of, if your mind will get blown if you allow it to. If it's like, it doesn't have to follow any of your rules or things that you've ever known until now, the reality of things, you're just showing up. That's how impact happens. That's how life changes, and that's where the shifts come from, when you just allow it to shift.
That's amazing. I love the way you put that, and I can completely get on board with what you're saying. And it was the feeling in the room, and just everything. It's just the energy, and yeah, just living on a different, being in a different kind of experience, and listening from that place of that upgraded seat, as Steve calls it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
I think, what's coming to mind is that the same way that the impact of the book really comes from reading the questions on the back cover and on the front cover, of questioning yourself as you put yourself in a situation. I think that really applies everywhere in life, and especially when you're going into an event. It's like, who am I being going into this event? Who would I need to be to have a shift from this event? Or, to me, the answer to all those is usually the same. You just got to be you and show up without any stories and without any agenda. But the answer could be different for everyone. But it's asking yourself those questions. Who would I need to be to make this event have an impact on me? It's not about anybody promising you anything. It's not, you come to this event, and I mean, it says that. Steve did write that in the book. When you ask yourself these questions and you really read from that place, you automatically will have that shift. You will have that mind-blowing experience, because that's who you're being. You're being open and inquisitive and present.
Yeah, those thoughts that come up within us from actually being there, being so much more impactful than any words that anybody else is saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the power, I think, of the events, isn't it? The actual, it just intensifies the experience.
Yeah.
So would you say following the event that you began to get some shifts from the event?
I would say that even before the event, putting yourself in that place, it's a moment to moment shift. It's the reason why reading the book, every time you read it, he said you should read the questions again, because putting that in your mind, it's the reason why I made these keychains. This is a reminder I carry with me. Who are you being? It's a moment to moment change. Who do I need to be to get the most from an event? I be that now. So I start shifting now. The first person that I believe that I heard this from, that changed my life, was in JP Morgan's video, 100 Hours with Steve Hardison. That was actually the video that got me, I would say, back on track, but definitely back into Steve's world, because before that, I just, I said, Steve is too much for me, and I can't deal with this guy, and I don't understand. There's too much I don't understand. And I kind of took a step back from, following his posts and stuff. And then I saw this video from JP Morgan. The first time I saw it, I don't remember where I found it. Maybe JP shared it on Facebook, but then Steve sent it to me personally, which just goes to show, Steve, when he sends things to people, and the people he's thinking about is something that I learned from. So in that video, JP Morgan said about his experience when he first hired Steve. So when he sent the money, he made his payment, he had this feeling inside like, oh my gosh, I can't go back now, right? That was $200,000. Like, there's no going back. What happened? What if Steve dies? What if it doesn't follow through? Like, you don't get the money back. And he said the most profound thing. He said he decided that he would get the value no matter what. That is a place of being, meaning I spent this money to learn whatever it is, or yeah, I just whatever it was, X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to make sure I get that because I'm that committed, and it has nothing to do with the words Steve would share with me, or even talking with him. JP Morgan's example was just like, I'll go to his office and I'll read his books for 2 hours a week. It's just the who you're being is showing up as, that's the most important thing. And I loved that. It's when you're committed to making something happen or to getting value, you create that value, you make it happen. It's a mindset. It's also directly connected with that story that Steve shared with one of his clients that he took to the movies. And the guy said, that's turns out it was a $3,000 movie, because that's how much it ended up paying for it. And it's, yeah, can you imagine? Imagine I can pick any movie. It happens to be, I could pick any movie and say, you need to pay $3,000 to watch this. And you do, you'll watch it until you know it by heart. And you'll start coming up with things that the producer didn't even have in mind, because you're so committed to getting the $3,000 value and seeing it and finding it. That's self-created. That doesn't have to do with an event. So you putting yourself there even way before the event will start the shifts happening. So that even if somebody, for some reason, their plane ticket gets canceled, they could still get the value and be there in spirit and whatever it is, because of their commitment and their openness and they're looking at who they're being.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true, so true. And yeah, absolutely speaks to us being the ones that create the value in whatever we're doing. Why anyone that goes to India is going to have that incredible experience if they go there knowing and setting the intention that that's what it's going to be for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And just to finish, because that's just all gold right there. Just to finish, have you got any message for anyone that might be considering going to India and hasn't quite made their mind up yet?
I think that which we've already shared. If one of the other things that ended me up in the Arizona event, I wasn't going to always be there, was somebody calling me up and asking me why should they go to the event. They said, I'm not sure like what this is all about, and I said, if you don't get it but it's bothering you, then think about that. If there's something, if somebody is not considered going to India, like, okay, but if it's something that you're not sure about, it's kind of look into yourself. Why is this something you're curious about? Because part of you wants to gain from it, but you don't fully understand. So it's kind of, what do you want to create? What value do you want to get out of it? And then that's the intention. No one's going to do anything for you, and no one's going to be able to make anything happen. But it's, if you're sitting and then there's always that little, well, I'm afraid, of this and all those excuses, commitments. If there were no worries, then what comes up, and then people should follow that. That's who you're being. I've learned years and years ago that technical problems are not the real reason, right? Well, I don't know if I have the time right now, and I don't know if I can afford it. But let's say those things weren't a problem. Are you there or you're not there? And if the answer is you're not there, then forget about your excuses and look at, if it resonates with you or you're not sure or you're questioning about it, means you're interested. And I love that. I love when people ask questions, because it means that they care. And if you care, then sit with that and be present with that and know that you can create the experience, and the experience you have is going to be the one that you're creating.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
completely with you on that, because I don't know how I'm going to get to India yet, but I know for sure I'm going to be there.
Yeah. So take it from Angie, everyone.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.